Welcome to Buckets. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network, joined, as always, for the big picture here on Buckets by professional bettor Raheem Palmer and NBA futures analyst Brandon Anderson. They are collectively the Jimmy Garoppolo fan club. Joining you today, we're going to be talking about all sorts of stuff. We're going to get you caught up on the league, what happened over the weekend while you guys were watching football. Amazing weekend of football, but the NBA did go on. There's lots to talk about. We're going to breeze through that, and we're going to get it started with tip-off. All right, fellas. So over the weekend, the Suns went to 9-1 in their last 10. They got another victory on Saturday night versus the Pacers. They're suddenly 4 games up on the Warriors in the loss column. And yet the Phoenix Suns, despite the best record in the NBA, are still plus 700 to win the NBA title at certain books. I have bet this 3 times this week. I have bet the Suns to win the title, and then I took a day and was just like picking out Eastern Conference matchups and doing matchup bets on them. Brandon, let's start with you. Why do you think that we continue that? Better yet, why do you think the books continue to post the Suns at these longer odds?
I think the only way we can interpret it at this point is that the books want our money on the Suns. Like that they look, we've seen all year that the Nets numbers stayed low and never went up. We saw early on, until proven otherwise, the Lakers number stayed low. They didn't want the liability on that. The only interpretation we have at this point, when the Suns have the best record by a margin, they're number 1 in net rating, number 2 in SRS, but about to be number 1. The only interpretation is, go on, bring us your Suns money. We'll take the liability. Yeah, like bring all the money in on Phoenix. We want it. And so to me, that's the question: is why do the books want to entice us to bet on the Suns?
Raheem, you have been off of the Warriors for several weeks now. You have been quietly laying the groundwork for your future victory lap. I want to know if you have taken those takes and gone to the book. Have you bet on the Suns yet to win the title?
I haven't bet on the Suns yet, but I think I am going to jump on the Suns. And look, we saw this similar disrespect last year. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that Chris Paul has been banged up in the playoffs for so many years. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that they're just Chris Paul and Devin Booker aren't the sexiest players in terms of flashiness and everything like that. But to me, this is the best team in the West. And like when you look at all the pieces, I mean, they have a guy in Mikal Bridges who might be the defensive player of the year outside of Draymond Green. You got 2 closers in Devin Booker and Chris Paul, where you literally have to blow this team out. Like the Mavericks were dominating the Suns last week, and we know the Mavericks, they've been the top defense in the league, and the Suns just close it out. So this is a team, I think they're 15-4 in the clutch this year. Like, no, they're 15-3 in the clutch. They have an offensive rating of 133 in the clutch, defensive rating of 90 in the clutch, 42 net rating. So if you don't blow this team out, this team is going to out-execute you. And there's not another team in the league that can say they can do that. So to me, I think I'm going to take the value with the Suns at plus 700. I just think they're being disrespected.
BetMGM's got it 8. It's plus 800, 8-1 to win the NBA title. These numbers are ridiculous. I will continue to bet these. This is like, here's the thing. It's tough, right? Where betting title futures as the season goes along, you got to pick your spots, obviously, but it's also like, okay, they're at their best, but I can't square. They're looking very much like the 1 seed. They're second in adjusted net rating behind the Warriors after that hot start. They don't have any long-term injuries. While Draymond's got a back problem, there's nobody else in the West you're really scared of. 8-1, like 7-1 implied. We're talking about a 12.1% chance. It's crazy.
Even the Western Conference odds at plus 300 is crazy because, look, I can make a case for the Suns having trouble beating the Bucks and the Nets. Like, I think they're going to have trouble with both of those teams. So I think making their title odds a little bit lower is, I mean, it's fair. But in the West at plus 300, to me, they're the best team in the West by far. Like that's a steal. And look, anything can happen once you get to the finals. I mean, they were up 2-0 in the Bucks last year. And I know Giannis was coming off an injury, but even if they play the Nets are not going to have any answer for Ayton. So that plus 700, it's plus 700 plus 800 is crazy to me.
At BetMGM, Bucks Suns playoff finals matchup is plus 1,800. It's 18-1. I just saw Brandon's eyes go wide. I saw that, Brandon. Let's
okay,
move on.
Let me play contrarian for a minute here. Rewind to last year's playoffs. The Suns in the first round played the Lakers. If Anthony Davis and LeBron stay healthy, do you think the Suns win that series? Yes or no?
I don't know. I think it was a lot closer than what the early results indicated, because you had the Chris Paul injury that messed up it early, and then the Davis injury. True. I like the matchup for the Suns.
Hard to read.
So,
what about second round? They play the Nuggets. If Jamal Murray was healthy, still in that matchup, do the Nuggets beat them?
I think it's closer, but I still kind of get to, after further review on it, I still kind of get to Suns in 6.
Okay, and then Clippers. If Kawhi and PG are healthy,
if Kawhi and PG are healthy, yeah. If Kawhi and PG are healthy, I probably like Clippers in 6.
Yeah, the Clippers would have won that series.
Yeah.
So here's the thing for me. I agree. The Suns are the best regular season team in the West. The playoffs are about what level can you get to? What's the ceiling? Who's the best player on the court? And if I look at ceilings, I look at Warriors, Bucks, Nets, the Lakers. If they get to the ceiling, clearly is higher. I think the Jazz ceiling possibly is higher. The Nuggets ceiling is higher if they get healthy. And in all of those cases, barring maybe the Jazz, they also have the best player on the court, not the Suns. So to me, that's the problem, is the Suns right now are the best team. They're built to be very good in the regular season. They've stayed mostly healthy other than this Ayton stretch. They're defending well. They're going to be a very good, tough out team. I just, in a matchup where now it's everything on the line and you got to be your best, I think that the Suns are the A- team in a season where we don't have any A+ because the injuries and COVID and everything else. But in the playoffs, you usually get one of those teams, at least one that's better. So for me, that I'm not betting the Suns. I don't want the 7 or the 800. I haven't got there yet to put them in that top tier. So that's the contrarian for me.
I just keep kind of going back to, I can't say that they're a regular season team when they just made the finals, but that's like,
yeah,
on some level, even with the injuries, I can't get there, but we got to move on. Warriors beat the Jazz last night. No Draymond Green. It was an ugly game. It was an unimpressive game. The Jazz were without Donovan Mitchell to a concussion. Rudy Gobert suffered a calf strain. Don't know how long that's going to be. Bogdanovich suffered a knee bruise. He's banged up. They're resting everybody as we record this on Monday versus the Suns. I got an early line on that at 7. It's gone to 11. Can't wait for the Suns to somehow, or the Jazz to somehow win this game. But I do think the biggest thing here, Raheem, is what's it going to take for the Warriors to get you back? What do the Warriors have to do to get you back on board?
I don't know if there's anything they can do to get me back on board. I'm going to be honest with you. And matter of fact, Clay has to show me that he's the top 25 player again. That's really what it comes down to. Like, to me, it's just, when I saw it back in December, this team doesn't have enough offense. And I love Steph Curry, and he is going to shoot better, but we saw it when the Warriors were in their prime, when there was the strength in numbers Warriors, when they got into a playoff series and you could trap and you can double and you can pull and hold on Steph Curry. Who else did they have to consistently create offense? And that's going to be a similar issue here. And it's even worse because we don't know what Klay Thompson is. And that bench mob that they had, the bench mob that they have now, it's not nearly as good as what we saw in 2015 and 2016. And I also think he is, but it's like the Warriors back then, they were ahead of everybody because they were ahead of the curve in terms of shooting threes. Everybody's shooting threes now. Yeah. So it's not like they're light years ahead of anybody at this point. So I just think offensively, they're going to struggle. The defense is going to be there. And I think against a team like the Suns, they're going to be able to match up well with them because, as you pointed out time and time before, they can switch. But offensively, I just don't see it.
I will note that despite all those struggles in terms of people pulling and all that stuff on them, they did make 5 straight finals and 2 without KD. I must note that for the record. Dallas Mavericks beat the Memphis Grizzlies last night to win the season series 3-1. That's big for tiebreaker. I've had to hedge on the Mavericks to win the division at plus 225, which is annoying because I had such a great number on the Grizzlies to win that division. But I'm a little worried. The Mavericks just keep winning. Raheem, I'll ask you, you've been kind of like percolating a little bit on this Dallas team. Do you like this Dallas team? Because their offense is gross and they're winning with defense, and that doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense to me either. I mean, like, I think the thing that I'm struggling with is that this team can't shoot. Like, they can't shoot at all. And they're taking like some of the highest percentage of threes, but they're just not making them. And they also only have two real playmakers on the team. It's Luka and it's Brunson. So, like, for me, I like them in the sense that Luka is just such a talent. And if KP can play well, I think they're dangerous. Like, when you really look at the Mavericks, it took pretty much it took prime Kawhi Leonard and Paul George for this team to get knocked out in 7 games last year. And this is a better defensive team. So you kind of got to like them. And I think they have a real shot at pulling a couple of upsets and possibly making it to the Western Conference Finals this year when I look at the landscape of who else is there. Like, we spoke on the struggles of the Warriors offense. The Lakers aren't the Lakers. The Nuggets, I mean, they just don't have anybody. They don't have enough guys around Jokic. So I think they're live to actually do some damage this year.
If they get in the 4-5 versus Memphis, you got to lean towards Dallas in that matchup. Memphis has been without guys in all their losses. Dallas was without Luka and KP and their loss to Memphis. I think it'd be a great series, but I would probably be looking to bet the Mavericks in that series. I think the next round gets tough first though, because if it's the Suns, I don't like the Dallas matchup versus the Suns. That one, I think that's a bad matchup, I think, for them, especially with Bridges able to defend Doncic. Alex Caruso gets taken out by Grayson Allen. Thanks, Grayson, for that. And you add to the discourse. Alex Caruso is now out 6 to 8 weeks with a fractured wrist. That sucks. The Bulls continue to be very, very banged up. Brandon, my Bulls are taking on water right now. The defense has slid. They're without a lot of guys right now. They're probably going to get back healthy sans Caruso here in the next 2 weeks. Is it all slide from here on out, or do you think the Bulls can right the ship?
So sans Caruso and Lonzo, right? Lonzo is on basically the same timetable as Caruso still, right?
I think Lonzo might be back a little sooner than Caruso.
Yeah, I mean, Levine should be back. So you get the 3 stars. Right now, the problem here is Nick Vucevic has to step up. He's got to be a lot better. Like, you pay what they did for him and are paying, salary and what they did in draft picks. He's got to be better. He doesn't necessarily need to be an MVP player, but you got to step up when you're missing Lonzo, Caruso, Levine, still Pat Williams. We forget about him, but that was a presumed starter for the season. So yeah, Bulls have lost 7 of 9. The East is very congested. So I'm worried that this team, after as good as the first half of the year had been, the path to them slipping into the 5 or 6 seed range it's right there. Like, they're a couple of weeks away. That's not even by the end of the season. That's in this stretch right here, that by the end of February, they could be in that range. So yeah, Grayson Allen is a filthy, dirty cheater. And if David Stern were here, he would have banned him for like 10 games or more. And if he was anything but a little white dude that trips people, then there would be a lot more consequences. So forget Grayson Allen. Also, Milwaukee, you should be embarrassed. That was a home game for the Bulls, and the Bulls fans were loud at that game. You're the defending champions. Do better.
Wow, lots of salt from former Bulls fan Brandon Anderson.
Oh, man.
And finally, yesterday, the Los Angeles Lakers get absolutely waxed in Miami. They made a fake comeback at the end of the game to pull within a handful. They were within 4 at one point and finished. They lost by 6. Thanks for that, because the line was 4. Appreciate that, because I definitely had the Lakers in that game. And the Lakers are the topic of the big picture this week. Okay, guys. So the Lakers have obviously been a train wreck really from the start of the season. Nothing has worked. There's rumors. The latest really is that Frank Vogel got the weirdest. They basically announced they weren't going to fire him yet before the road trip. goes on the road trip. They have lost 5 of 7 now after winning 4 straight. They've got Brooklyn, Philly, Charlotte, Atlanta next up. That does not look good for them. Frank Vogel looks most likely to have to walk the plank and take the fall for this. Raheem, let me ask you, if they promote David Fizdale, which it does not sound like they're going to, but if they were to promote David Fizdale, would you have any sort of confidence in a turnaround? Is there any coaching option that you would be like,
No, because he's a worse coach. Like, I mean, he's a good personality. His wife looks good and everything like that. But I mean, he's not Frank Vogel. And to me, this roster is flawed. When you trade multiple rotation pieces, a guy in KCP, Kuzma who can score, and Montrezl Harrell for Russell Westbrook, who's just turning the ball over at will. He can't space the floor. He needs the ball in his hand. And Anthony Davis isn't playing. This is what you get. Like, you just don't have two-way players on this team. And you know it's bad when Stanley Johnson has to be the spark plug for this team. Like, they need Stanley Johnson to play well in order to be competitive in games. So to me, I have no faith in this team. And it's tragic because they're talking about Anthony Davis coming back soon. And you've always pointed out how Anthony Davis hasn't been good, but it feels like Anthony Davis is going to come back. They're going to continue to lose, and then Vogel's going to get fired, and they're going to get worse.
Vogel benched Russ in one of the games, Brandon. He benched Russell Westbrook, and asked after the game, he said, just putting the guys out there that I thought gave me a chance to win. There's talk about Houston and a possible deal for John Wall. There's talk about a few other teams that might be persuaded, but the big problem is the Lakers are going to have to give up more future assets that they've already leveraged to get Anthony Davis in order to make that trade happen. If they trade Russell Westbrook and get anything of value back, would that make you feel better or worse about the team?
I mean, certainly better. It's hard to feel worse Westbrook. So I don't know that I really see a Westbrook trade as very realistic. Maybe the John Wall thing is real, but outside of that, I can see a trade in the offseason where you actually have a little more flexibility. I mean, this is like a $45 million cap hit. There's not a lot of teams that can just willy-nilly be like, yeah, sure, we'll take on $45 million in the middle of the year. Like, just to be able to match the salaries and line all that up is a mess. To me, the trade that I think is going to happen, and it has to mean Russ getting minimized. He's never just going to get benched for the season, but maybe he gets the starting lineup, but maybe not the closing lineup always necessarily, and fewer minutes or offset minutes. But to me, Talen Horton-Tucker, they got that. It's a young player on a nice tradable contract. Kendrick Nunn, about $5 million a year, and then any number of filler guys they need to put in can basically get them to like an $18 to $20 million player. They can add in, I think, a 2027 first. So if you find a team that likes THT and wants the first round pick, you like that pick. The Lakers look like they shouldn't be that good by then. You never know. It's the Lakers, so they always will be. Someone will just show up and play for them. But if you look around the league, there's a bunch of guys, especially like wing shooter type players in that $16 to $20 million range. And like, I looked through the league today, I found like 12 guys, and like, well, these aren't going to drastically change things, but the thing that's going to change things is Anthony Davis. That's the thing that's going to change things. LeBron has been awesome. Anthony Davis can be awesome. He has not been good even when he's played this year, but I actually am kind of looking at Lakers futures prices right now, just because this is the nadir. Like, it's not going to get any lower. Anthony Davis is about to be back. And if Davis comes back and is Davis again, if it's the playoffs and I have Anthony Davis healthy and LeBron, and maybe give me a third player here this year, this West, I feel pretty good about my chances there.
Let me ask you this, Raheem. Let's say that I went to the future. Okay, and I come back and I tell you, okay, you were wrong about your Lakers position. Why do you think it is? Why do you think that if you turn out to be wrong, the Lakers just don't have it, that they wind up having it? Like, what is it that you think changes?
They sent Russell Westbrook home, or they traded him for John Wall. John Wall actually ends up being an upgrade over Russell Westbrook. Kendrick Nunn comes back. He's solid offensively, defensively. Malik Monk gets more minutes. Maybe Stanley Johnson gets more minutes. They send DeAndre Jordan home. Like, for me, it's like they almost overhaul pretty much half the roster. They pretty much do what the 2017 Cleveland Cavaliers did.
Now we got a squad.
Yeah, like that's pretty much what happens.
But why should we believe that won't happen? This is what every LeBron team does. Like, this is not the final version of this team. He's gonna blow it up and bring in the other guys. That was always the plan. That is always the plan with the LeBron team. So, like, I don't think it's gonna not include Russ, because I don't know how you get out of that mid-season. But the other guys, like, I mean, look, last night we're playing. Trevor Ariza was atrocious last night. 0 for 5, 4 turnovers in 15 minutes. He had a 0 offensive rating and 115 defensive rating. That's pretty bad. But you got Ariza, you got Dwight, Avery Bradley, Melo. Like, if you forgot to watch basketball for a year and then right now you showed up and I was like, hey, by the way, Dwight, Ariza, Bradley, and Melo all retired, you'd be like, yeah, okay, good. That seems like they were well overdue. No, they're playing big rotation minutes. So replace those guys with something, anything. Give me some more Malik Monk. Like, give me some younger guys. Bring in a couple buyout guys. It's going to be a different team. And if you got LeBron and Davis, it's got to be both of them. It's not both. It's done. There's no conversation. You got both of those. You got some role for Russ. You maybe get that fourth player with this trade of THT or whatever it brings in. And then you got Malik Monk and a few of these other guys. LeBron has shown for 10 plus years that that's enough. And weirdly enough, we were all like, LeBron finally made it to the West, maybe just in time for the West to become the Eastern Conference again. And the power teams are in the East. Part of why we think the value on the Suns is there, I think, is because there's not a huge, strong contender there. So if you also don't really believe in the Suns like me, and if the Lakers can get healthy Davis and LeBron, like, if the playoffs started right now and Davis was healthy with LeBron, even with this disaster of roster, you wouldn't take them seriously with those two as a threat. You have to take those two seriously.
I want to note that not only is Raheem in Slack while we're on this call, not only is Raheem in Slack talking to Darren Rovell while we're on this call, not only is Raheem on a Slack hitting up Darren Rovell while we're on this podcast, but Raheem is on this Slack hitting up Darren, is on Slack during this podcast, hitting up Darren Rovell to talk about NFL and take a victory lap. Like, it is the perfect Raheem circle. This is like perfect. Like, if you just mentioned that to him that you're from Philly, it would have been an absolute Venn diagram circle of all the Raheemness. I'll say this. If you want the scenario, here's how it goes. The Lakers go on a run and they get to the 6. Okay. Even better this. They win the play-in. Okay. Don't even have to get into the 6. Win the play-in. Okay. They win the play-in, they get the 7th seed. The Jazz get the 2 seed because the Warriors slip because of Draymond. So the Lakers get the Jazz. The Jazz implode, as we are very familiar with. Second round, they get that Warriors team that you don't believe in, that has offensive issues and lost. And the Warriors lost to this Lakers team, not this one, but arguably, no, maybe this one's worse. But anyway, a Lakers team with Anthony Davis and LeBron James last spring. And all of a sudden, the Lakers get the Warriors, and now they're in the Western Conference Finals. And then, not that I want this to happen because I badly want him to get a ring, Chris Paul gets hurt again. And now all of a sudden, the Lakers are right back in it. Like, that is I just took you 3 steps through. The Jazz always fail in the playoffs. The Warriors have offensive issues. Chris Paul always gets hurt. That's a path for the Lakers to make the finals. And then they get
that's the most convincing pass I've ever heard.
And once they get there, we are loading up on whoever the East team. Like, we are getting bulldozers to push the money onto whoever they face, right?
That's what I'm saying. Lakers, I was going to try to make the case for the Lakers are plus 1,700 right now to win the title.
Oh,
and then I
God.
was like, wait. I don't want to play the Lakers in the finals. But LeBron can lose in the finals. I know that. He's real good at losing the finals. So plus 850 to win the West right now. I think if you plan on playing some team to win the West and having a position, I think you responsibly need to get that Lakers ticket on your portfolio because you're going to get to the playoffs. And if LeBron and Anthony Davis are healthy, you're going to want to have some way to position out of that because any given game, they can have the best two players on the court, and this is basketball, and you lose to that team.
As we were talking, it just came out as we were recording this podcast on Monday afternoon. After missing 1 month with MCL sprain, Lakers star Anthony Davis is probable to return on Tuesday night versus the Nets in Brooklyn. Let's go to...
You know why he didn't return on Sunday night? Because they were playing the Heat. And you don't rush back to bang with Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler. There was no way he was playing in that game. Welcome back, Anthony. Play the Nets.
The question I have for you guys is, when is the buy point? Is the buy point right now? Because they're on this road trip against the Nets, Sixers, Hornets, and Hawks. Is it right now before?
I can't buy them. I just can't. Like
you just made the most convincing case.
I know,
and you almost got me.
I know.
I'm buying. I'm buying right now because I don't think it can drop much lower. Like I'm less worried about going from 850 to a 900 or a 950. That's not enough value for me to risk. Then Anthony Davis comes back, actually is healthy, which he really hasn't been at any point this year, looks good. And suddenly, look, all it's going to take is 3 good Lakers games, and that number is going to be down to 350 or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I'm buying now. Now is the time.
Okay. Let's go back to the future. So in this segment, we talk about a future that we've got our eye on, and I will go ahead and let you know. I'll start off with mine. And we've mentioned it before at the top, and I'll let you know what I got in on Futures Friday last week. Heat Suns finals plus 3,500. Heat versus Suns is 35 to 1. We've talked about the Suns. We've gone over that. I've cleared that. They have made the finals. They can switch, they can drop, they can play whatever, they can play zone. They are deep. They have multiple guys that can step in for injuries. They are still looking to add guys and trade. They have multiple bigs. Bismack Biyombo is getting good minutes. That's how good they've been. The Suns are pretty obvious. The Heat, Bam Adebayo is 6-3 lifetime versus Joel Embiid straight up. When those two play, Bam is 6-3. On the East, not only is he good versus Embiid, but they can play versus the Bucks. They can play versus these things. I bet this last week. I'm betting it again. So I'm going back to the well on Heat Suns 35 to 1. As long as I'm getting these kind of numbers, I'm going to be hitting them pretty hard. Although I will tell you, I did look this morning and this number absolutely stunned me because if you told me how were the Bucks when their guys played, what was that like? I would have been oh, well, they've been awesome. They've been dynamite. They're probably a solid 6 games or so over. They're 18-3 when Jrue Holiday, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Chris Middleton play. 18-3. 18-3. So I'm also looking at the Bucks very hard. Raheem, you got a future for this week?
I'm not crazy about anything right now. I'm gonna be honest with you. Other than the Suns, I think I would go with the Suns plus 800. That's probably the pick for me right now.
Brandon, what's your future for the week?
So I'm going to go back to the Heat also. I'm playing Eric Spoelstra to win Coach of the Year right now at DraftKings and BetMGM. He is at 12 to 1, and I think that is preposterous. The Miami Heat are the 1 seed right now. Not just the Heat are good, they're getting healthy, they could become the 1 seed. Right now, in this moment, the Heat are the 1 seed, despite Jimmy Butler has missed 18 games. Bam Adebayo has missed 25 games. Kyle Lowry has missed 8 and really not been a huge impact player. Duncan Robinson has been terrible all season, can't hit anything. And despite all of that, the Heat are the 1 seed in the East, the conference that we agree is the better conference now. And Spoelstra has never won Coach of the Year. When we talked about this before the season, he was a candidate we all agreed that we liked. The value wasn't great then because he was one of the betting favorites. Right now, depending on the book you look at, you can see him at 500 or 600 at some books. I think that's about what he should be. I feel like if the season ended today, right now, I think Monty Williams would probably win because of what the Suns have done. But historically, he doesn't really fit what the profile is of a Coach of the Year winner because of how the expectations were high for the Suns. The expectations were not this high for the Heat. If the Heat and Suns both finish as the 1 seed or in that range, Spoelstra has more outperformed expectations. Spoelstra is a guy that everyone loves. He should be a Coach of the Year, right? He should have one on his mantle. I think 12-1 is a crazy number for them to put him at.
It's a better number, but I will just say this. I have a stronger argument for another candidate, and that's JB Bickerstaff. They've been without Jimmy Butler. Like, he's missed some time. The Cavaliers' heads fell off. They lost Colin Sexton a week into the season. They lost Ricky Rubio. They were out 3 of the bigs at one point. They've missed all these dudes. Everyone's been out. They're playing Isaac Okoro at 2 guard. They're 28-19. They're 2 back of the 1 seed. That's insane. With Darius Garland, Jarrett Allen, and rookie Evan Mobley, the Cavaliers are 2 back of the 1 seed. I bet Bickerstaff at a longer number than that, and I'm quite happy with that position. But 1,200 for Spo that's I don't like money.
I'm like
surprised Monty's the favorite here. I don't know how many back-to-back winners we get in that.
The other one that's surprising. The other one is that Billy Donovan is still it's still like lower odds at every book right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you stopped this about 10 days ago, that's accurate, but we still have half a season to go.
Yeah.
And like, if you're projecting forward, that's the thing. Bickerstaff has been awesome. And I think if you end it right now, he should be the winner. He should be the winner over Spo, over Monty. But projecting forward, I feel much better about the Heat's chances, especially now they're getting healthy again, of staying up there, where we don't know about the Cavs being able to do the same, or even the Suns staying healthy and so far ahead. So I think projecting forward, there's value on Spo. Bickerstaff has been awesome. If you look at where the odds are at, Donovan's number ahead of Spoelstra's number, those should be flipped on every book, I think, because the trending in opposite directions going forward.
Yeah, I think Monty is probably going to get it just because they gave it to Thibs last year. Monty probably should have got it maybe the last 2 years. Obviously, they had that 8-0 run in the bubble, and then it carried over last season. And it feels like they gave a little bit more credit to Chris Paul. Thibs got it. And I know he turned around the Knicks, but the Suns was just so amazing. So maybe this is just kind of a makeup award.
Yeah, I can see that being the case too. I forget that because the coaches voted Monty and the media voted Tibbs. So yeah, I can see that happening. Couple programming notes for you. First, next week we're launching a daily bucket. It's gonna be a 15-minute pod every day in your podcast feed, roughly around 5 o'clock Eastern. So be on the lookout for that starting next week. This week on Tuesday at 7 o'clock Eastern and Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern. Tuesday and Wednesday, 7 o'clock Eastern on the Action Network YouTube channel. We do the workshop. We break down the next day's bets, in-depth stuff with Raheem, talking about numbers, the models, where we're at on these games, best bets. Raheem's been killing it. He's on fire right now, so much so that I need him to lose because his head is so huge right now that he's hitting up Darren in the Slack while he's on this podcast. So make sure to check out the workshop on Tuesday and Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern. Let's grab it up for buckets. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe. Hit us up on Twitter. I'm at HP Basketball. Brandon's at Wheaton Brando. There we go. I just blanked for a second. And Raheem's at DJR2 the Diz. We'll catch you guys again next time. Thanks for joining us on Buckets.